keep my beak substantial. So that's about where the eye is going to go, and that's kind of where the beak is. All right. This head is fairly large. When I hold it in my hand, it's bigger than a golf ball, and it's definitely thicker than an index finger. And kind of the rule is, if your clay is thick like this, you need to hollow it out. So before I can attach my head to the body, it's a good idea to hollow it. So I got to figure out how I'm going to attach this. Well, I know that my body's going to be slanted forwards a little bit because the finch kind of leans forwards. So I'm going to imagine that my little birdie will sit like that, tap out the bottom a bit, okay? So it has kind of a flattened bottom. And then the bird head will go up here. So if that's where it's going to be attached, handy to take a tool and kind of draw a line around the neck, ring around the collar, where I'm going to attach those two. So on both pieces, I have a good idea of where the attachment's going to happen. Now, since the head is too thick to go into the kiln as is, I need to hollow it out. And all you need to do is stick your index finger inside the head, okay? Being careful not to go all the way through to the other side, but I want to kind of bend my finger up so that it goes a little bit towards that beak area. Being careful not to distort this hole. I don't want to make this a huge, huge hole. Okay, I'm just hollowing it to make sure that the walls are thin enough so that when it goes in the kiln, it won't blow up. Okay, so my head is now hollow, and I'm going to attach it. The body's not hollow yet. We'll do that later. Okay, and right now, it's not balanced very well. The head is very heavy, and it tips forward, okay? So, giving it a little bit of a smack on the table and getting the balance right, okay, that's a little helpful. And I don't want to smack it so much that I'm making a flat bird, but I do want to be thinking about that. Oh, it's a little bit flat on the bottom, okay, so I don't want to do too much. But we're also going to be adding a tail, and that'll help weight down the other side a little bit too. Okay, attaching head to body, very easy. All I'm going to do is go around the outside of this hole, and I want to make sure to get plenty of slip, that nice gravy wet slip, and then I can take my clay tool, anything with kind of a sharp edge. Wooden tools work, paper clips work, needle tools work. Sometimes people use a fork. I'm going to go all the way around, and I want to score relatively deep. And then the same place where it's going to be attached, I'm going to do that on the body too. And since I was going out in this direction, around and around and around, kind of like spokes on a bicycle in an outward motion, I'm going to do the same thing where it will be attached and go out from the middle. And I'm generally not afraid of scoring fairly deep, okay? Especially with nice wet clay like this. If it's a little bit drier, you know, you might want to put some slip on both sides. Plenty of slip is a good idea, and we'll clean up the excess after we get it put together. Okay, so I have my score, slip, and smear, my score and slip. Now I'm going to wiggle them together, get that head onto the body. That is a big head. I'm going to have to trim that down a little bit. And after I get it wiggled on, now it's cleanup time. So I'm going to use a clean finger, get all that extra stuff wiped off, and I'm going to go around and I'm going to smear it together. And when I smear, I'm doing two things. I'm really welding it so that the bond is strong, but I'm also cleaning up any extra slip that's oozing out. So that the slip is only at the point of connection. We don't want wet slip oozing out where the neck is. So right here, I've got slip oozing out. I'm going to take that off. I just wipe it on my hand. And then smear it together. Really, really bonding and welding as I go. All right, at this point, we have our bird with its head. Now, let's see if I have a better, there we go. This head's way too big, and it just happened that way. So I might take another tool and carefully remove a little bit of this clay. And I do that a little bit on each side, okay? I think I definitely need to take a little bit off the front. I don't want to dig so deep that I'm digging into the hole of the bird, the hole inside the head. But I just know that this head is too big, so I need to make it a little smaller. And as I'm doing this, I'm still kind of pushing the clay and forming the shape I want. Okay. And I can probably shave a little off the top. Little birdie head shave. You have to decide how your proportions look. Does your head look like it's a good size compared to the rest of the body? If it's too small, you can't just stick more clay on. It's better to have something that's too big and be able to shave a little off. Okay, that's better. More proportional to what I was looking for. Okay, we still haven't added the wings or the tail. I haven't done a lot with detail yet. And I also need to hollow out the body, okay? Because right now, the body's still solid and it can't be fired like that. Okay? So the first part, video 1 of this little demonstration, is getting the head stuck on and then working with the actual form. If you sit and work with this and work with it in your hands for an hour, you're going to dry it out so much that you won't be able to work with it. So I'd maybe take 10 to 15 minutes to really try to get it kind of the form that you want. All right. One other thing that I know that I'm going to do is when I put the tail on, I don't want to have nothing down here. So I'm going to pinch out a little bit to kind of have something more substantial to attach my tail to. And I'm just doing a little bit. I don't want to make this too thin, okay? So I have this little piece that kind of comes out. All right. In the next video, we're going to work on doing the wings, the tail, and then finally we're going to hollow out our bird and work on how to balance it so it will sit nicely. And we're going to make a base for it too. The base is actually going to be a simple cone made out of clay. And so the bird is not going to be attached to the cone, but they will both get fired and the bird can sit on top of the cone and kind of rest on the cone. Before the next video, my plan is to do a little bit more with detail, maybe decide where those eyes go, look at my pictures again. I might even use the end of a clay tool to start carving in some of the details and figure out where the line in the beak is supposed to be, maybe where my wings are kind of located. I'll do a little bit more with detail before I come back.